So, have you ever stopped and wondered how we got here? From a world of totally disconnected machines to, well, to this? This hyper-connected reality we all live in now. The thing is, the internet didn't just happen by accident. It was actually designed from the ground up to solve a very specific and very human problem. To really get it, we've got to go back to the beginning. To understand the internet, you first have to remember what it was like without it. A time, like this person said, where you could just disappear for a bit. A time of true downtime. That feeling of being out of touch, that was just normal life. And that's the exact problem the internet's pioneers were trying to solve.
You see, in the early days of computing, the digital world was kind of like an archipelago, just a scattered collection of islands. You had these incredibly powerful computers, right? But they were all stranded, totally unable to share information or resources with each other easily.
The real heart of the issue was that all the information was stuck in silos. It was locked away inside these giant mainframe computers at universities or on individual machines in government labs. If you wanted to move data, you literally had to physically carry it on a tape or something. So the challenge wasn't just connecting people, it was getting these massive, expensive, and totally different machines to speak a common language. So how do you build bridges between all these digital islands? Well, the answer came from this incredibly ambitious project funded by the US Department of Defense. It was called ARPANET, and it turned out to be the tiny seed that would one day grow into the internet we know. And this is where the big leap in thinking happened. See, the old way was to have one central computer that everything else branched off of, a really rigid, top-down system. But ARPANET introduced something completely radical, a decentralized web, where every point was connected to several other points. There was no single point of failure. And that was the revolutionary idea. Not building a network, but building a network of networks.
Okay, but to make that web of networks actually work, you need a universal language, right? A set of rules everyone agrees on. That language is called TCP/IP. It was developed by pioneers like Bob Kahn and Vinton Cerf, and its key trick was something called packet switching. Basically, it breaks data into tiny little chunks, or packets, sends them all off independently, and then puts them back together at the other end. It's an incredibly smart and resilient way to move information.
And what TCP/IP created was what Dr. Kahn called an open architecture. And honestly, this is the secret sauce. It meant you didn't have to ask for permission from some central gatekeeper to join in. Any network anywhere in the world could connect to this growing web as long as it spoke the language of TCP/IP. This open-door policy is exactly what allowed the internet to just explode, growing organically all across the globe.
So, the internet was born, but for years it was really just a tool for researchers, academics, and the military. It was a secret club almost. The next giant leap was figuring out how to get this incredible tool out of the lab and into everyone's living room.
Let me put it this way. Think of the internet as the global network of roads connecting everything. For years, only expert engineers knew how to drive on them. Then, in 1991, a guy named Tim Berners-Lee basically invented the car, the World Wide Web. It's an application that runs on top of the internet, using things like web pages and hyperlinks to make all that information visual, clickable, and super accessible to pretty much anyone.
And once the web went public, man, the floodgates just opened. All of a sudden, boom, in just a few years, we got all these services that completely redefined our daily lives, how we find stuff, how we shop, how we talk to each other. Each one built on the last, and together they turned the internet from a cool niche tool into something we absolutely can't live without.
And the economic power of this thing, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. I mean, just look at one e-commerce event in China, Double 11. In 2009, it brought in about $500 million yuan. Fast forward to 2021, and it's over 540 billion. That's more than a 1,000-fold increase in just over a decade. It's a perfect snapshot of the internet's insane economic engine.
But, and this is a big but, connecting the entire planet on one single network comes with some major consequences. This global village we've built, it's a true double-edged sword. It offers incredible promise, but it also comes with some serious peril.
On the one hand, the promise is undeniable. We've seen entire economies transformed, cultures shared in an instant, and new ways for people to engage with their governments. But the peril is just as real. The very openness that makes the internet so amazing also makes it vulnerable. Every connection is a potential weak point, which leads to constant cyber threats, a serious erosion of our personal privacy, and even brand new challenges to our mental health, like internet addiction. A perfect example of this peril is something I bet we've all seen: phishing. You know, that urgent-looking email pretending to be your bank? That's a classic trick designed to scare you into giving away your sensitive data. It's a simple but scarily effective example of how our digital connections can be turned right back against us.
So how do we defend ourselves in this world? Well, network security really boils down to three main ideas. First, you've got confidentiality, basically keeping your data secret. It's attacked by things like hacking and phishing, and we defend it with tools like cryptography. Second is integrity, making sure your data isn't messed with. The bad guys use viruses and worms, and we use anti-malware software to fight back. And third, there's availability, making sure you can actually get to your stuff when you need it. This is threatened by attacks like denial of service, and we protect it with things like firewalls.
Okay, this all leads to a really huge question. If the internet is this decentralized global network with no single owner, then who's actually in charge? How does this whole massive, complicated thing get coordinated?
The surprising answer is nobody's in charge. Not really. Instead, its most important jobs are managed through global cooperation. For instance, a nonprofit called ICANN handles the internet's address book, all the domain names and IP addresses that tell your browser where to go. And the technical rules of the road, those are developed by the IETF, which is a global community of volunteer engineers. It gets right to the heart of how the internet works. It's a system built on coordination, not on command and control. We started this whole journey with a simple problem: disconnection. And the internet solved that problem more completely than anyone could have ever imagined. But in solving that one problem, it created a whole bunch of new ones. Challenges around security, privacy, and even truth itself. So the real question we're left with is this: what are the big problems that the next evolution of our connected world needs to be designed to solve?